CES is a trendsetter for the rest of the year. It's the world's largest tech show, and every year it showcases a little bit of what the next year has to offer. 2024's installment of the show had a lot of main characters. I'm here to give you my predictions of what this will mean for the coming year. Starting with the biggest news of 2023, artificial intelligence. Will it still be the biggest news in 2024? If you've seen any coverage from the show so far, you'll agree with me that it's going to be a large part of the story. There's a lot of companies that are coming out with products basically repackaging ChatGPT into a new shape that isn't a phone, either doesn't have a screen or has a small screen, or interacts with only voice. And no one stole the show quite like the Rabbit R1, which looks like a minimalistic toy that was designed by teenage engineering. It's basically a phone that you can control with your voice only, that has a display to showcase the results of your queries, and what Rabbit claims differentiates it from the ChatGPT app on your phone: training and personalization. They claim that it's using machine learning to recognize what you're doing on your phone and replicate it even for applications that wouldn't work with just voice otherwise. For example, booking whole travel plans from a voice command.
I have prepared a detailed travel plan for your trip.
As a huge caveat, there hasn't been any real-world demonstration of this product in action, but that didn't seem to deter the more than 20,000 people who pre-ordered it on the day of launch. At $200, it's much cheaper than the Humane AI Pin, which was launched last year and accomplished essentially the same purpose, but with a few flourishes. Given its pricing and its looks, the Rabbit R1 has ended up much more popular than the AI Pin. Now, as my takeaway for this year, I expect much more AI hardware to arrive, and for it to develop a core user base, where most people will prefer just using the app on their phone. Software is king, and if these companies are not able to succeed with the physical products that they've released, they might be able to have success selling software. CES is always a big deal for display technologies and TVs, and this year was no exception. TCL announced a 115-inch TV. For context, that's actually bigger than the frame that you're seeing in the background. Hisense also announced a 110-inch TV, which is a bit smaller than the TCL one, but claims one big selling point: brightness. It goes up to 10,000 nits. For reference, your phone goes from around 50 to 1,000 nits, and direct sunlight is much more than 10,000 nits. This is the reason that manufacturers are pushing for brighter and brighter screens, because in a dark room, 10,000 nits is probably more than enough, but when you're outdoors competing with direct sunlight, it becomes much more necessary to be even brighter. Moving on from TVs that you can't look away from to TVs that you can't see. Samsung and LG have announced a lineup of transparent TVs which could be used in commercial use cases, for example as public signage or inside of shop displays. They also presented some more consumer-facing transparent TVs, which could be used as display pieces, for example, by your wealthy uncle's living room. This kind of approach has proven quite successful for the Samsung Frame, which is a TV that's shaped essentially like a photo frame. There's also continued advancements in folding technology, from the CC folding TV that costs upwards of $200,000 to the classic foldable displays that we've seen in CES for the past couple of years. My takeaway for displays is that this competition is going to keep going for this year, leading to TVs that are more and more sophisticated and no one can afford. But as we've seen with CESs of the past, this technology will eventually trickle down into TVs that mere mortals can afford. Speaking of more practical AI applications, that's something that CES had a lot of. From an AI grill that claims to cook meat faster than chefs, to an AI bartender that is able to converse and take orders with clients. The grill company claims that it was able to use AI to optimize the speed and the taste of a meat. They also claim that they have different modes for different kinds of meats, and that you'll be able to train it on your own preferences. Now, what do I think this means for this coming year? Well, I think that we're going to see more and more applications of AI, especially in the hospitality space. AI mixed with robotics is going to go much faster than we think. Moving from practical applications of AI to what I call AI soup.
AI soup?
Lots of companies have decided to rebrand themselves as AI companies, even though their product doesn't actually use AI. This is something that Linus Tech Tips has pointed out in their showcase of an AI mattress this year in CES.
One small problem. There's nothing AI about it.
The mattress itself is quite interesting. It has custom motors inside of it, which adjusts and optimizes your fit on the bed, depending on your body type and weight. I'm a huge fan of this kind of mattress, and I'll find every opportunity I can to lie on them.
Massage function?
I can finish the day here.
Yeah.
But it's not quite AI. My takeaway for this year is that this phenomenon is going to keep being prevalent, and that as consumers and media, we have to be careful not to take people at face value when they're saying that they're using AI. Moving on to cars, which have a long and storied history in CES of releasing concept cars which never end up to be commercially viable. Nevertheless, there are a few that have broken out in the history of CES. So here's the Sony Afeela car, which was brought into the stage with a PlayStation controller and has basically all Sony hardware. The Chinese EV manufacturer XPeng had a flying car prototype. And this is actually something that we have an episode coming up on, so make sure you're subscribed to not miss that one.
Along with the rest of the show, cars also had their AI moments, which mostly referred to AI assistants that are directly embedded into the car, which is not new.
It's fantastic. Find me the nearest kilt shop.
Okay.
Kia also announced a line of modular cars, which they claim will be able to switch out different applications, for example, for ride-sharing, for businesses, or for accessibility uses. My takeaway for this year's Auto CES is that, once again, these are all concept cars, and we should take what they're saying with a grain of salt. Moving on to something that you definitely shouldn't be wearing while you're driving, virtual reality. Basically, these headsets have displays inside of them which allow you to immerse yourself into a virtual world or augment the real world, like the Google Glass, for example. This year's CES saw a few products announced, from glasses from Nreal that almost look like real glasses so that you're able to wear them without looking like an absolute doofus in public. Just a little bit. This year's CES VR coverage has one clear missing actor, Apple, who's scheduled to release the Vision Pro in the coming weeks. With its whole new control scheme that doesn't require a controller, to the way that it's envisioning VR with very little gaming, it seems that 2024 will be a pivotal year for mixed reality, and that of all the releases we've seen in CES, they will be compared to Apple's Vision Pro. Samsung announced its Volley Assistant, which is shaped like a ball and follows you around with a projector and a smart speaker baked in. The pricing is unknown, but the reception has been mixed, especially given that their marketing materials to showcase the projector had it projecting onto a blank wall right next to a massive TV. My takeaway is that for now, these assistants are probably more hassle than it's worth, and the people that are going to buy them are going to buy them because they find them cute, much like they did for Jibo or other smart assistants in the past.
Hi everyone.
Though I don't think we're going to be out of a cute but useless phase this year, I believe that we're down the path to see much more practical assistance in the coming years. Moving on to devices that have a screen slightly smaller than your entire living room, laptops. Manufacturers have announced lots of new models and refreshes for this year. MSI, Asus, and all the other PC manufacturers have updated their laptops with either more performance, thinner laptops, or faster screens. Lenovo also announced what I think gets the most confusing tech award for CES, which is a laptop that has an Android tablet inside of its screen. So you'd be able to detach the screen like a Surface Book from Microsoft, but unlike that device, the laptop would still be inside of the base of the computer. So you'd be able to keep it plugged into a display and work on it while someone else is using your Android tablet. Most commentators I've seen have been scratching their heads as to who exactly this is for, but my takeaway for this year's laptop CES is that despite what the VR maximalists might say, laptops are mostly here to stay for the coming years. And because of that, manufacturers are going to try lots of fun combinations to try and differentiate themselves from the competition. That brings us to the end of this year's coverage of CES. If you're interested in more event coverage from us, well, you can make sure you're subscribed so that you don't miss our coverage of Computex in the coming months. We produce new videos every week, so make sure your bell is turned on, and I'm off to keep working. Take care.